The way Taeyong raps in Lemonade makes him sound like a toddler.
I'm saying I don't wanna come down from your love. We'll get lost together like we fly. Don't ever let me come down from your love. From your love. From your love.
Hey guys, it's Bree here. If you're new here, welcome to my channel, and welcome back if you're a returning subscriber. Today's video is actually part 2 to a video I previously posted on my channel called Reacting to Your Spicy K-pop Opinions. If you haven't seen that video, I'll make sure to link it in the pinned comment. Basically, I asked my Discord server members to submit their spiciest K-pop opinions, and I reacted to those opinions in my last video. So if you want to take part in videos like this in the future, make sure to join my Discord server. It's where you can get to know me a little bit more, and you can also talk to my subscribers as well, so make sure you join. Alright, so with that out of the way, let's get right into these spicy K-pop opinions. The first opinion is, I agree most boy groups do mostly dark concepts nowadays, but I think that's mostly because that's what sells. Unless you are an already established group, doing a bright or lighthearted concept gets you nowhere. Meanwhile, all these boy groups that suddenly change their concept, like The Boys, Golden Child, Very Very, etc., get a lot or at least more attention after the concept change. I honestly really like all of the groups I listed concepts from both before and now. I'm just saying, stop complaining about boy groups not being diverse anymore. There are some out there trying, they're just simply not selling. So I do agree with you on this, and I really like you using the example of The Boys. Me personally, I had no idea that The Boys existed before their song Reveal. I just assumed that they were a rookie group and that was their debut song, and I loved it. Ever since then, I've been following them more and more, and after Kingdom, I started to accept the fact that I'm pretty much a Dolby at this point. Like, I feel like I'm officially a fan of The Boys. And I do agree, they're a pretty versatile group. They do have lighter concepts like Bloom Bloom, DDD, and then they have darker concepts like The Stealer and even Maverick, which I absolutely love. But they do get more attention overall, it seems, from their darker concepts like Reveal and Maverick. At this point when I'm recording this video, I think Maverick has already gotten 2 music show wins, which is awesome for them. I will also say though, I think it would be great if groups like The Boys still incorporated lighter concepts here and there just to keep the fans engaged that do prefer light concepts over dark concepts, since like what you said, dark concepts are so oversaturated in the industry at this point with boy groups and even like the dark girl crush concepts for girl groups. But I also think songs that are kind of in the middle between light and dark do really well. I'll use Thrill Ride by The Boys for example. That song wasn't necessarily light or dark, it was kind of a fun, hard-hitting song that kind of landed somewhere in the middle. I think songs like that are a very nice happy medium for the people that are either hardcore fans of light concepts or hardcore fans of dark concepts. But I have to say, as somebody who primarily follows boy groups and who loves dark concepts, I'm actually not that mad about all of the dark title tracks. And I do think that groups like The Boys, although now most of their title tracks are darker, they do have B-sides that are a little more on the light concept side of the spectrum as well. The reason why idols keep being problematic is because their fans keep defending them or speaking over the people who are offended. And I do agree this is a trend in K-pop. I think for a lot of people, their first inclination is to defend or make excuses for their idols when they do something wrong. I think it's okay to not support people just straight up sending hate to idols, but if someone is just saying that an idol did something offensive or problematic and is saying that they should address it, I don't think there's any problem with that, and I think it's okay to ask for an apology or a statement to be made. Like I said, as long as someone isn't straight up hating on the idol, I think as a fan, you should be accepting of that. It's better for an idol to make a statement or apologize and to show growth and learn from their mistakes than to just try to infantilize them and keep them from acknowledging their insensitive behavior, because all in all, if they don't address the situation, most of the time it can end up hurting their reputation or their image if it's not addressed. So it's better to just let them go for it and take ownership if they do something offensive. Fanfiction isn't that bad unless the person is A, underage, B, has said they don't feel comfortable with that stuff being written about them, or C, romanticizes things like SA or any other type of. So yeah, I kind of do agree with you on that. I think fanfiction is just a way of a lot of fans having a creative outlet or creating interesting settings or interesting worlds with their favorite idols. I agree with you. If it involves anything that has to do with a nature and underage idols, that's totally not okay. okay, that's creepy. I do not approve of that. I think it's gross. And I also think that romanticizing SA is extremely harmful as well, especially since you have a lot of young people reading fan fictions. They might read a fan fiction like that and internalize it and think that that type of behavior or relationship is okay, and they might actually use that when they're getting into relationships themselves in the future. They might think that that's how it's supposed to be, and they might want something like that based on things that they've read. I know it sounds really far-fetched, but I can guarantee you that fan fiction, just like movies or music or anything else, could potentially cause young people to internalize certain values or certain ideas. So I definitely think it could be harmful to the readers, as well as the fact that you point out some idols aren't okay with that stuff being written about them. I agree with you on that. I can only imagine if an idol like accidentally comes across a fan fiction written about them that makes them uncomfortable. I'm sure that's like super horrifying. So I do agree with you on that, as long as there's no underage idols involved, or you're objectifying someone that says that they don't feel comfortable with that, or it romanticizes. I think that it's okay and pretty much harmless. I think a lot of K-pop fans confuse racism and ignorance, and some use it to bring down and hate on a group or idol. For example, if an idol wears box braids and doesn't know why it's wrong, then that wouldn't be racism, it'd be ignorance. Also, the Chan situation with the pose he did, that to me is also more so ignorance and lack of education than racism. Because honestly, a lot of people didn't know what the pose was or meant. Even black K-pop fans, me included, didn't know. So while you can still hold people accountable and tell them to educate themselves, if you're going to label them as a racist, make sure that the offense couldn't also be ignorance or lack of education, because sometimes the idol group genuinely doesn't know. But at the same time, this could be subjective, since some may see ignorance and racism differently than others. I think that this is a really good point that you've brought up here. I think a lot of times when idols do something offensive, there are always people that are very quick to label them as racist. I think that with some idols, if they've shown the same behavior over and over again, and it seems like they're not learning from the behavior or taking constructive criticism and changing their behavior, then I can definitely see why some K-pop fans might think that they're racist. But I also do think that there are situations where some idols are ignorant. But of course, there's really no way for us to know that, because we don't know what's going on in their mind. I will say though, I think that ignorance isn't an excuse at this point. We are in 2021. If you're an idol or a public figure that has thousands or maybe even sometimes millions of fans across the world that come from different backgrounds and culture, being ignorant is not an excuse. I really like that you brought up the Chan situation. Even though Chan didn't know about the Jim Crow pose, he's an English speaker. I'm pretty sure that he knew the meaning of the song America. It's obviously a song about the black struggle in America and how traumatizing it can be for many black people. We can see that from some of the disturbing imagery in the music video. So I do think what he did was just a bad move and not something that should have been done at all. I think with Stray Kids, they have had a lot of controversies when it comes to cultural appropriation, like a lot of K-pop groups, and because they have such a huge fan base and because they're so big now, a lot of people are watching them closely. So I hope that in the future, Chan and the other members do learn from this experience and don't slip up again. But I do agree with your point. A lot of K-pop fans do throw the term racist around way too much, in my opinion. I think that sometimes the shoe does fit, but sometimes it doesn't. I think sometimes it is a case of ignorance. And I will say this. You can obviously do a certain behavior or commit an act, and that act can be racist. It can be offensive, but does that mean that you're a racist person? I think it's very important to look at the intention and what the person knows. But like I said, don't get me wrong, ignorance is not an excuse at this point, and I do think that idols and companies as well should do better with idols educating themselves and being up to date on things like these. And I also think that companies should also introduce some type of cultural sensitivity training as well, to just avoid situations like this altogether. Every K-pop group should do the vampire concept at some point. I need more idols to convert into vampires. Okay, Cora, I'm calling you out. Cora is one of my Discord server members. I'm pretty sure that you're the one who submitted this opinion. And I agree with you. Me and Cora seem to have very similar taste in music, and we both like dark fantasy concepts. And I agree with you. I was so happy when NCT 127 did the vampire concept with Favorite. I love vampire concepts, and I would love to see more of those concepts in K-pop as well. And for them to really, like, I don't know, flesh out some type of vampire storyline in a music video where we have a very clear beginning and end to a story, I just think that would be really cool. I think that visuals shouldn't matter too much. I don't think it should matter how attractive an idol is, because honestly, beauty standards mean absolutely nothing to me. I would rather listen to a group based on their talents rather than their looks. We stand talent over here. Yeah, I do agree. I think that it's okay to use visuals as like an added bonus for a group. I think that talent should be what matters. Like, okay, are they good dancers? Are they good singers? Can they rap well? And then visuals can be just an added bonus. But I have to be honest, visuals are a big part of K-pop. That is just how the industry is kind of built. There is a centered focus on visuals, whether it's how the idols look, whether it's the visuals of the music video, whether it's the styling, etc. I think as people, we do naturally like things that look nice, and I think that entire visual aspect is what draws a lot of K-pop fans in, especially international fans, because for a lot of us, it's like, wow, K-pop is really into creating an experience, right? And the visuals are a big part of that. But I do agree with you that talent should always be more important, because that is what determines how good the music is, how good the choreography is, how good the dancing is. You guys get my point. So next I have two opinions on Sticker. The first one is, there's nothing wrong with Sticker by NCT 127. It's unfamiliar, not bad. It doesn't need to be fixed. The producers knew what they were doing and the boys worked hard, and other news stream far. And the second one is, okay, Sticker wasn't that bad at all, and the flute fits in with the vibe of it. It's actually a good song and it fits really well with NCT's sounds. Also, the B-sides are absolute bops. Yeah, so I agree with both of these comments. I think a lot of people, non-N citizens and even some N citizens, seem to use Sticker as a way to just shit on NCT. And it was really weird to me because, like I've said before in previous videos, NCT stands for Neoculture Technology. Their concept has always been to be ahead of their time and be very experimental with their sound. And they've had really noisy layered songs like this before, so I really was kind of shocked about why there was so much backlash for this song. I do agree for me that the flute kind of confused me in the beginning. After a few listens, I was like, whatever, and I liked the song so much that I didn't even really care about the flute, because for me the song as a whole is so good. The flute didn't ruin it for me, but that's just my opinion. And I will agree with you, the B-sides on the Sticker album are very, very good, and I do understand why Sticker was chosen as a title track, because they wanted something that was very standout and very experimental. For example, Lemonade. A lot of people thought Lemonade should have been the title track, but to be honest with you, I liked Lemonade when it came out, but over time it just got stale for me, and I listen to Sticker still to this day all of the time. On top of that, I think NCT 127 got 10 music show wins for Sticker, plus the album sales speak for itself. That's all I'm gonna say. BTS's music now is not it. I want a body roll to Suga and RM growling in the microphone, not Jimin and Tae singing about butter and disco balls. I'll say this, I've expressed my opinion on BTS's recent music 1,000 times in my videos, so I'm not going to go through that again. Every time I do, there's always armies in the comments that are saying I hate BTS. But I will say, I do agree with you about Butter and Dynamite. I'm assuming that's what you're referring to, and I am looking forward to BTS's music that they're working on releasing in the future, because I do want to hear what that'll be like. SuperM is not a bad group. The problem is that with all groups under the company, SM Entertainment expects the same amount of success garnered in the Asian music market to transfer into the Western market. The average person that knows SuperM are already existing K-pop fans, because locals over here only know BTS, and that's not even including the amount of xenophobia in the Western music industry, especially here in the US. Aside from that, SM just doesn't know the Western market very well at all, mostly when it comes to genres and other things that are trending here. So I do agree, SuperM is not bad at all. Their discography is incredible. Like, both albums are just very strong albums. I still listen to both albums like religiously. But I do agree with your point on SM really desperately wanting to tap into the Western market, and they basically keep experimenting to see what will stick. They definitely overestimated SuperM's reception in the West. I agree with you that most people who bought SuperM's albums or actually went to their world tour were people that were already fans of SM artists like myself, somebody who grew up on EXO, SHINee, and recently became an NCT fan. I was ecstatic when I saw that SuperM was becoming a thing, and I think that most people that were into SuperM were either people who are really into SM artists or were just into K-pop in general already, like you said. I do think that for some reason SM had this idea or hope that SuperM would maybe blow up like BTS, but BTS is really their own phenomenon, right? BTS is BTS. It'll be really hard for someone to try to duplicate that or duplicate BTS's success in that way, because BTS just became big in a very organic way. People like me who have been following them since since almost the beginning are very surprised that they became this big and happy that they became this big, because it wasn't really expected that they would blow up the way that they did. And I do agree with your point as well. Xenophobia is huge in the Western music industry. We still even see BTS becoming targets of xenophobic and racist rhetoric from Western media outlets. So because of those points you're making, it'll be really interesting to see how SM's project NCT Hollywood turns out, because I feel like they're trying to create what they didn't create with SuperM, even though I am trying to stay positive about NCT Hollywood and hope for the best. Sunmi's rap in You Can't Sit With Us is unnecessary.
Well, you've got a point.
Luna has the most overrated discography in all of K-pop. So it's funny that you say this, because one of my Discord server members, Sam, recently made me a Luna playlist, and I actually liked quite a few songs on the playlist. I already knew songs like Favorite, Butterfly, Singing in the Rain, and Eclipse, but there are a few other songs that I really liked, like Egoist and New. But I do see people really big upping Luna. They do have a sound that's very experimental, so I think that's why they draw so many hardcore fans. But to be honest with you, I think I would have to delve more into Luna's B-sides to really say whether their discography is overrated or not. Besides Butterfly, their title tracks have not really done it for me personally. Edgy girl group stans are the worst. Y'all know who you are. Yeah, so I do get what you're saying. I remember in one of my videos, I mentioned that I'm a boy group stan, and because of that, I don't know much music by girl groups. And someone came into my comments and said something like, oh, you're putting down girl groups, or it's not something to brag about that you like boy groups. And I was just like, what? I was just making a statement that I naturally like boy groups and their music better than girl groups. I'm not putting down girl groups. I'm just saying that naturally boy groups music are the type of music I like. That doesn't mean I hate girl groups. It doesn't mean that I don't listen to girl groups at all, because I do. But yeah, I do see that there are some toxic girl group stans that make comments like that, and they kind of talk down about men and boy groups and male artists in general. I don't get that. I don't think that type of behavior is okay on either side, whether it's girl group stans talking badly about boy groups or boy group stans talking badly about girl groups. It's just really weird and unnecessary. Can we both just enjoy the music and leave it at that and not make it about genders? Just saying. The way Taeyong raps in Lemonade makes him sound like a toddler.
It tastes like lemonade. We are on an hurricane. Tastes like lemonade.
So I have a feeling who wrote this K-pop opinion. I do agree with this comment. You guys know Taeyong is one of my alt biases. Love Taeyong, love his rapping. But his rapping in Lemonade did grate on my ears a little bit, and I think that's why I don't really listen to Lemonade much. Just his tone when he was rapping in that song, it just didn't hit for me. And I know that overall Taeyong has kind of like a raspy, nasally voice, but in that song in particular, I think the way he was rapping and the way he was rapping kind of like softly on top of that, I'm so sorry Taeyong, but yeah, I'm not a fan of his rapping in Lemonade. I'm not gonna lie. You don't deserve the biggest fandom in the world if your greed for a Grammy is bigger than keeping on continuing with the music people started supporting you for. This is a really interesting opinion, and I'm pretty sure this is about BTS. And I've kind of seen people express this sentiment as well, but I will say we don't really know what type of music BTS wants to make, right? I'm assuming this person is specifically talking about releases like Permission to Dance, Butter, and Dynamite. We did get an album B, which had more BTS sounding songs that were in Korean. That album was released last year in 2020, and then they released, you know, Dynamite, Butter, and Permission to Dance. I do think that BTS wants a Grammy. I think that is something that a lot of artists gravitate towards or want if they can achieve it. I don't think it's wrong for BTS to want that, but I do think it's kind of too soon for us to say that they're basically selling out for a Grammy, if that makes sense. Yes, we did have a few songs that a lot of ARMY might not have vibed with, but I think we need to wait and see what music they put out in the future. And who knows, it could have been like, okay, it's a pandemic, we just want to put out fun, lighthearted English songs. I can get why they did that. It was a smart business move to do that. I'm sure they gained a lot more fans because they are doing that. I do think sometimes people forget that at the end of the day, music and being in the music industry is a business. So to some extent, you do want to do what sells. But at the same time, I do agree with your point. As someone who's been a fan of BTS since about 2015-ish, I am looking forward to the next album, and I hope that they tap into some of that sentiment we've seen in their earlier music. So I hope you guys enjoyed reacting to your spicy K-pop opinions part 2. Let me know what you thought about the opinions in the comments. Do you agree? Do you not agree? I would love to hear your thoughts. If you have any spicy K-pop opinions, feel free to comment them below or save them for later because I'm sure I'll be doing a video like this in the future again. Also, make sure to give this video a thumbs up if you liked it. Make sure to subscribe and ring the bell, and make sure to join my Discord server so like I mentioned earlier, you can get to know me a little more and talk to my other subscribers as well. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye!